So guys, of course, we had the leaks, the major leaks today. I already did a video covering everything, right? But I really wanted to talk a little bit about some specific vehicles about that list and what should you expect. I already did a video, I already did a video about this vehicle in particular a while back when BVD said that it might come, which is the MiG-25PD, obviously. But yeah, now we have a proper leak. Right, of course, we don't know if it's actually going to be added or not, because, you know how it is, right? It's a leak, it's controversial, it's, it's an opinion maybe, but you know how it is, right? So it might come, it might not come, but the leakers, the main leakers are saying that it is, right? So let's talk about quickly what you should you expect from this vehicle, like proper performance only, how would it actually be like to play? And of course, when it comes, I will be doing videos about it, obviously, right? And apparently, according to the leaks, it might be a non-premium event vehicle. So probably for the winter event, if the leaks are true. So first of all, the MiG-25 in a general perspective of the flight performance, guys. Before we even talk about the PD model that was leaked, the MiG-25 is a heavy interceptor. That's the idea, guys. It's to go fast, to fly very far and very fast, so that it can actually, intercept bombers. That's the idea, or reconnaissance vehicles, even, of course, aircraft in general, fighters and stuff, but any type of aircraft that is entering the enemy, the friendly's airspace, right? So it has an enormous amount of thrust, more than 200 kilonewtons static, if I'm not mistaken, but it weighs like 20 tons empty, right? So it's a very heavy aircraft. So the max speed of this thing is above 3,000 kilometers per hour. The maximum Mach would be, for operational capacity, would be Mach 2.83. It can go further than that, but normally in a normal flight circumstances of interception and stuff, it would rarely go beyond 2.83, right? It's more for record breaking, or maybe when pilots really need to push the foot to the metal, then it can go past that. But normally, they wouldn't be advised to actually pass Mach 2.83, which is insane. It's going to be the fastest aircraft in the game for sure, right? I mean, this thing, man, in the maximum flight speed, it could actually fly 100 kilometers in like 1 minute and something, right? So it's insane, man. It's insane. It's really fast. And of course, it has a pretty good climb rate, a pretty good maximum speed, but no turn capability, basically. It's a very heavy aircraft with not a very good thrust weight. So overall, guys, it is going to be an aircraft that it's just an interceptor, boys. Don't expect this thing to turn. It's better than people expect, according to the Soviets, okay? People think that this is like worse than the F-104, and it's probably... I mean, I'm not gonna compare like that, but it's gonna be a brick. But it's less of a brick than people might think. But it's still probably the brickiest brick ever to be added to the game. That's kind of the line of thinking, right? The aircraft is indeed a very bricky aircraft, but maybe not as much as people think, because the internet kind of, I don't know, extrapolate how much of a brick this thing is. But so expect like 5-6 turns. Normally they would do less than that, but you can do without breaking the aircraft even like 9 Gs, something like that. So it can turn, but it's very slow. So expect something like that, okay? And this is what you should expect. Very heavy, very fast, and no turn. That's kind of the line of thinking here. And then we need to talk about the PD model. This is the version that was actually leaked. So the P model, which is the initial one, had a very early iteration of the radar. Remember, these versions, they properly got into service in 1971. The first models, prototypes and stuff, initial operational capacity maybe, or something like that, is between 1969, 70, 71, right? So it's difficult to know exactly the year, but officially it's around 1971. So it's a very old aircraft, right? So it doesn't have any type of pulse Doppler, radar or anything that helps it look down or anything like that. It wasn't even made to do that. So yeah, and the missiles were fairly limited, right? So the R40s, right? R40Ts and Rs, right? The original ones. So the missiles are fairly limited, would be very slow turning and everything, you know, so it's limited. But then, guys, the PD model was introduced in the late 70s. It was developed in the mid to late 70s, especially after the defection of a MiG-25 to Japan, right? They actually improved the MiG-25 to be able to be better than what the Americans expected when they looked into the aircraft, okay? And of course, they were trying to introduce the MiG-31 as well. They introduced it shortly after the MiG-31 as well. So it was kind of a whole bunch of upgrades for the PVO, right? Which is the Interceptions Force, Air Force that they have, right? And the Air Defense Forces, right? And the PD, guys, improves in basically four major things, okay? One of them introduces a better overall sensor system, okay? So it has basically a Sapphire 25, they say, which is way better than the Smerch A1 radar, which is basically a radar that it's based off the technology of the MiG-23, okay? So basically they got a MiG-23 radar and they made it bigger, so it has more range and it has MTI modes and stuff to filter out when you are looking down, okay? So it's a proper look down radar, but not as good as a proper pull stopper yet, okay? Like major improvement on the radar here. Very large target could be detected at up to like 100 kilometers. So it's a very good radar for the time, you know, and it's just kind of using older technology than a proper PESA or pull stopper mechanically scanned array radar that were being used in the late 70s, okay? Another improvement is that they added, you know, a better missile in the terms of the R40 RDs and TDs. These missiles are much better. The maximum amount of range that these things would have is around 60 kilometers, but it probably will have an effective range that is worse than that. And this would be the main missile, the heavy missile to fight bombers, right? It uses the same technology as the R24 on the terms of the Seeker, so expect something similar to that, but with more energy. The same amount of energies as maybe an R27, the original one, but with less turn. That's kind of the idea. It's a very, very large missile with a very heavy payload. So it's supposed to just destroy the target. It doesn't even need to hit properly the target. The proxy fuse is pretty huge, you know. So it's a very large bomber killer missile, okay? The third change is that they added R60 missiles. So the early MiG-25s could not take R60s. And this tank can take the R60 and R60M, which helps immensely since this aircraft doesn't have any type of gun, right? Remember, the MiG-25 doesn't have a gun internally, right? So it means that the R60 would be the main short-range, you know, vehicle to destroy targets, okay? Another thing, and the last modification, was the introduction of countermeasures. So this tank will have the same pods, or a very similar version of the pods used on the MiG-23. So around more or less, you know, 30 each, you know, so more or less, just like the MiG-23, like ML, you would have 60 large caliber countermeasures. Of course, the MiG-23 can add the underbelly one, which can add like 12 more, but overall, it is like using the top, you know, countermeasure pod. So it would have 60 large countermeasures, right? So this is the MiG-25PD. Very heavy, very, you know, fast, fastest aircraft in the game for sure. But of course, it has a pretty interesting radar. I mean, don't expect this thing to be too high of a BR, guys. People say, oh my god, it's gonna be the worst aircraft ever. But yeah, it depends on the BR, man. Because the missiles and the radar is pretty good. It has countermeasures and it has pretty amazing missiles for the time, right? So at the end of the day, it depends on the BR that they add. If they added like 11.0, for example, I think it's actually going to be usable. I don't expect any type of higher BR than that because it doesn't have a gun and it will not be able to turn. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a low BR, right? Maybe even lower than 11.0. So yeah, it's an aircraft that really is not for everybody, but it is so iconic, so iconic that it needs to be added. So this is what you should expect from the MiG-25PD in the game. This is a revision of the video that I did before, of course, since now we have a proper leak of the version specifically that it's coming. Let's hope that it's true. We don't know yet. Subject to change. These leaks are not official, okay, guys? So, of course, take it with a little bit of salt, as always. And these are my opinions on the MiG-25 as well, and if it is coming or not, okay? So I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, become a member or a patron if you want to help the channel. And I see you guys on the next one. Bye.